War is full of uncertainty. Soldiers march into battle never knowing what tomorrow will bring. But on one battlefield, a soldier received something impossible. A letter that already knew. Tonight's story is called The Letter That Knew the Future. Private Thomas Carter had been on the front lines for 3 days. In war, time had a strange way of losing its meaning. Minutes felt like hours, and every distant explosion felt closer than the last. When the shell struck their trench, instinct took over. Thomas ran. Out of breath and disoriented, he climbed into the nearest trench, among soldiers who had never seen him before. For a moment, the battle seemed distant. Then, through the thunder of artillery, someone called his name. Thomas turned in confusion. A military courier handed him a letter. Thomas unfolded the letter and began to read. It spoke of the trench he had just escaped, and the explosion that had driven him from it only minutes before. Then came a warning. It said that shortly after he received this letter, an explosion would strike near the trench, but no one would be harmed. For a moment, nothing happened. Then suddenly, a blast erupted beside the trench, sending earth and smoke high into the air. Soldiers ducked and covered their heads as the ground shook beneath them. Slowly the cloud began to clear. No one was injured. Not a single man had been touched. Thomas stared at the letter. The explosion had happened exactly as the words had described. Thomas read the next line. It warned that the trench would soon come under attack from 3 enemy aircraft. Without hesitation, he shouted to the soldiers around him, "Out of the trench! Incoming enemy planes!" The soldiers scrambled from the trench. Moments later, enemy aircraft swept over the battlefield. Gunfire tore through the empty trench, sending mud and splinters into the air. Thomas wondered who had written the letter that had just saved all of their lives. He turned the page over and looked for a clue. And suddenly, Thomas understood, because the signature on the letter was his own. Years passed, and the battlefield slowly faded into memory. But Private Thomas Carter never forgot the letter that had once found its way into his hands. The letter had existed because he would one day write it. Carefully, he began to put the same words onto the page. Somehow, some way, this letter would find its way back to the young soldier he once was.